think about what Ayurvedic medicine did is they took all the foods globally and they actually mapped out the qualities of that food. So in the wintertime, you want foods that are sort of what are called sweet, sour, and salt, heavier foods, oily foods to help balance the vata, that crazy air that drives you out. In the summer, you want, sweet and bitter and astringent foods to cool the body down. And they could be from anywhere in the world. Like an avocado doesn't grow here, but we know it has that heavy, oily property that can balance your vata. Bananas will do a similar thing for the winter time. Bitter roots like ginger doesn't always grow around here, but it's really good in the springtime to decongest you and those kind of things. And I think the other piece of the puzzle is the lymphatic system. In Ayurveda, the lymph is the first system we evaluate. And the study of the lymph in Ayurveda is called rasa, and the study of longevity is called rasayana. So literally the study of longevity is a study of the lymph, which is an amazing system. It's the one that carries your immune system, takes out the trash, and delivers fat for baseline energy to every cell of your body. And when long haul COVID happened, they found that the initial problem that they noticed was congestion of the brain lymphatic and glymphatic systems, which dump like 3 pounds of trash out of your head every year while you sleep. And the response to COVID and the vaccine created congestion of the brain lymph. And when the brain lymph, which is your master computer, doesn't know how many fire trucks to send to the immune fire on Main Street, it can send too many or too little, and that can create a host of problems, mood issues, autoimmune issues, immune compromise issues. And I was just writing an article this morning about a psychiatrist in the early 1900s. It's a funny story, maybe not funny, but his name was Dr. Henry Cotton, and he had a psychiatric hospital, and how he would treat these patients from all over the world was famous. He would cut out their ovaries or their testicles or their teeth or anything that was infected. He'd chop it out and send them back, and they were better. And it was like, what? How does that make any sense? It's like, and then in 2013, a Journal of American Medicine article came out and said that mood-related concerns, psychiatric problems were significantly increased by 65% when folks had an infection, and 45% when they had an autoimmune concern. So when you have an infection, that affects your lymphatic system, which carries your immune system. So he was just chopping out all these lymphatic congestive areas of your body, proving the connection between your lymph and your mood. And of course, the lymph relates to so many other concerns. We actually have a lymph quiz. Like if you have swollen rings on your fingers, rashes, skin concerns, extra weight around your belly. That's where all the lymph is around your belly. I did a podcast with interview with David Perlmutter, who wrote The Grain Brain. His whole concept was it's the wheat that's causing the brain to become congested and causing Alzheimer's because his dad had Alzheimer's. And I say, David, the studies don't show that. The studies show that actually people who eat wheat, called the MIND diet, 3 servings of wheat per day, actually have reduced Alzheimer's disease. The studies show that when you don't break down the wheat, and this, I'm going to quote a study for you. If you don't break down the hard to digest proteins, like the wheat and the dairy, the nuts, the seeds, the grains, the oxalates, the anti-nutrients on vegetables, and the fats, the environmental pollutants, which are fat soluble, 70 million tons per year, according to the EPA, go into our intestinal tract. If you don't break them down completely, they'll go undigested or incompletely digested into your intestinal tract. They will be too big to get into your blood. They'll get uptaken into the collecting ducts of your lymph, which is the garbage can. I wish it was your toilet, which was the garbage can, but it's not. And that gets into the lymph around your belly, and that causes extra weight around your belly. Gets into the lymph, your skin-associated lymph, gives you rashes and hives. Gets into the brain-associated lymph, the brain lymph and glymphatic systems, which dump 3 pounds of trash out every year while you sleep. And that causes cognitive decline and brain fog and anxiety and inflammation and infection and all these concerns. So the real cause of this is not the wheat. It's the inability to break it down. Mm-hmm. And if you can then troubleshoot where it's broken, why it's not being broken down, whether it's a stomach issue, a liver gallbladder issue, and fix those concerns, well, then you can actually start bringing foods back into your diet. And even the harder to digest ones will provide you that minimal hormesis to strengthen gut immunity, as opposed to overwhelming your gut with foods that didn't get digested, and then overwhelming the lymph and overwhelming the brain and the skin. And now your body's just dumping trash out through your skin or through your vasodilation in your brain, a migraine headache, or through your joints and creating problems there as well. So it's really interesting if you track it down to the source. You go, wait a minute, if I just fix digestion, I'm going to detox better, I'm going to assimilate better, and I'm going to feel so much better. And obviously that study was a study of longevity for thousands of years. And we don't talk about how well the body takes the trash out as our longevity agent. We just live in the mitochondrial world these days, which has a lot to do with Ayurveda as well. But if you don't have good trash removal in your body, you're going to pay a price.
Well, like I always say, it's not just what you're taking in nutritionally, it's what you're getting out, right? We've got to get rid of the junk, and we have to feed our bodies and ourselves the nutrients. What you're saying about the lymph makes so much sense to me as a double kapha. Taking your rings off your finger, that is my number one sign. Okay, Sara, how's your swelling today? And I love lymphatic drainage. I do a lot of that, and I feel better. Whenever my lymph feels backed up, I feel stuck. I feel like everything, my digestion's stuck, my brain's stuck. I feel like I can't breathe. And when everything's flowing, I'm flowing. I'm flowing mentally, physically, emotionally. And so it just makes sense that that lymph is so connected to your mental health, which I wanted to talk about. Would you say that is the core cause of mental illness today?
There are so many good studies linked to congestion of the brain lymphatic system causing poor sleep and cognitive decline and all types of mood-related issues. The studies show that, they only discovered the brain lymph and lymphatic systems about 15 years ago at the University of Virginia. Before then, anybody who ever said there was lymph in the brain was crazy. But Ayurveda said there was lymph in the brain 2,500 years ago, wrote about it in their text, which still exists today. And they actually developed therapies to clean out your brain lymph and lymphatic systems. And studies show that when that system is not draining well, and therefore you're not sleeping well, it's linked to anxiety, depression, cognitive decline, inflammation, infection, and autoimmune concerns.